I took 3 classes in undergrad and I majored in psychology.
Yeah.
No, a psychologist is actually a trained profession that went through hell. Yeah, we're here. Welcome to another episode on the Golden Sheep Podcast, where I bring many unique stories here for us to learn from that life is not really a straight line. It's actually more twists and turns and curls. And so my next guest is somebody from my actual graduate training days. So who are you?
Hello, I am Dr. Sophia Howard.
Hello, welcome Dr. Sophia Howard. Thank you for being here.
Good to be here.
So where were you born and where do you live now?
I was born in Kansas City, Missouri. And yes, I love my Chiefs. I love my Mahomie.
Yay, Taylor's boyfriend's team.
Yeah, Mahomie. That's mine.
You're
You
like,
can have
no.
T-Swift. Yes.
Okay. And where do you currently live?
Currently live in Springfield, Missouri.
Okay.
Very different vibe from Kansas City, but
Okay.
we're there.
Cool. And how old are you, Dr. Howard?
31 years old. Sometimes I forget. I
know.
think I'm just 30, but I'm 31.
Yeah. 30 plus a bonus year.
Yeah.
Okay, and what do you do for a living?
I am a psychologist.
Oh my God.
Yes.
How does it feel to even say that?
Crazy when you been working for it forever and you're like, is this right? You know, that imposter syndrome. Like,
oh my gosh.
Is this really who I am?
She's always there lurking.
Yeah.
That imposter syndrome.
Yeah, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's there, but I'm a psychologist.
You are a psychologist, and I'm proud to hear you say it, and I don't know how you feel saying it, but I'm proud to hear you say it as your friend and colleague.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
Kick us off in one sentence. How did you get here?
I got here through the twists and turns
Ooh.
of life.
Dang, she's using my words. Okay.
Yeah. Twists and turns of life. That's how I got here.
Twists and turns of life. We know you have a PhD. Walk us briefly through your academic path.
Mm-hmm. So I got my bachelor's in English and psychology. I love English. I'm a book nerd.
You do like to read.
I love my crime books. I love my psychological thrillers. Of course, I'm a psychologist, but psychological thrillers, and I am a romance junkie.
You are.
So I was an English major. I love reading. I love writing. My emphasis was creative writing, so I love creating worlds. And also, I loved psychology growing up, too. Mm-hmm. In grad school, not in grad school, but as an undergrad, I was a double major in English and psychology. And I had to make a decision. The twists and turns. I was gonna go this way to English route. I was gonna get an MFA. I was gonna be an author.
Yeah.
I was gonna write creative writing, do
Yeah.
stories. I don't know, maybe get books published, be that romance novelist that, all the ones that I read. It didn't happen. I thought psychology was a safer route. So I went this way. And did I make the right choice? Looking back now, it's where I am, so it is the right choice. But it was a decision I had to make. Mm-hmm. And so I went the route of, okay, let's do psychology. Because I know if I do psychology, I'll be a psychologist. And I know what that, I thought I knew what that meant. It means I do this.
Yeah.
Or I'm a psychologist versus the English route. Where am I going to end up? I don't know. I don't want to explore the unknown at that point. I wanted to kind of have something safe, a safer route. Mm-hmm. I say that I was thinking that then. Was it a safe route? No. But because of the twists and turns of life, but it happened.
Yeah.
And I'm here.
Yep.
So,
literally, you're here.
I'm literally here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So as I mentioned before, Dr. Howard went through grad school with me. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting because we have seen of each other so many ups and downs and twists and turns. Yeah. Because I keep laughing when you said to be a psychologist, and I knew that's what I wanted, but oh boy, it takes so much.
Yeah.
You also mentioned before that the element of storytelling and creating a story or understanding a story and the pieces of it led you into psychology from English majoring.
Yes.
English majoring.
From English majoring, the major of the English.
Yeah.
Psychology is understanding people. It's kind of figuring out what makes this person tick. They're acting crazy. Why are they acting crazy like that? What's wrong with them? What happened to them? So I love that aspect of psychology. That's what I did as a creative writer. I'm still a writer in some sort of sense of fashion, reports. But we'll talk about that later. Yeah. But we don't have to talk about that at all. Yeah. But I enjoy report writing, but we don't have to talk about that. Yeah. But writing, why is this person doing what they're doing? Why are they like the way that they are? And that's that blend of, that's what psychology is understanding people, working with people.
With a scientific framework.
Yes.
In a world where people continuously use words like that, science, brains.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. But, really understanding what that means and how to help people in what you just described, I think is one of the biggest parts of being a PhD. What does having a PhD mean? Like, what is a PhD to you?
To me, a PhD is being a...
Are you laughing?
I'm laughing. Yes.
Why are you laughing?
It's a PhD. Sure, like, it means to be a doctor, right? A PhD means you're a philosopher.
Doctor of philosophy.
That's what a PhD is. To me, it means I get to put letters at the end of my name when I sign those reports. And Dr. Sophia Howard, PhD. Yes, that's what you dream of, right?
Yes.
When you're in the program.
Yes.
That's what you think about.
Yes.
But to me, a PhD symbolizes I worked my butt off for this to get here. I worked my butt off to be able to get here and do what I love, to serve the people that I love. I love working with kids and families, and I love working with adults and young adults. I love the work that I do. And a PhD means I am qualified to have that honor to serve. That's what it means to me.
Right. And I think having a PhD as well, and let's walk you through what a clinical program looks like for a PhD, right? So you can be a therapist at a master's level and get licensed there. You can also be a therapist at a PhD level. We'll talk about the differences later about that. Yeah. But essentially, our program had 5 years, assuming like everything worked out perfectly. We know sometimes it doesn't. First year's coursework, assessment series, therapy series. So in a simple sentence, how would you describe what therapy is to people? Because when people think of therapy, they think of Snoopy with a clipboard, and, sitting there, and then someone else is laying on a couch venting, right? But it's so much more than that. So we learned about therapy and assessment. What is therapy?
Therapy is a person coming to see a therapist, whether that is a psychologist or someone who's a master's level therapist, LCSW, LPC, we all learn the same things. We all learn how to do therapy. It's a person coming in and saying, this is what I'm experiencing. And a therapist saying, okay, let's talk about it. You are maybe feeling worried. You have a lot of worries, or you're having trouble getting out of bed. Therapy is talking about what is going on with you, giving a name to it, helping you understand what it is you're experiencing, why it is you're experiencing, and helping you come to that conclusion. Yeah. Acceptance too. I would say therapists are like musicians. There's so many rhythm and rhymes and approaches, styles. Some you got the mainstream music where for the masses it works, and then there's some that just doesn't work, and then there's so many styles and approaches to it. Then there's the assessment piece. What's an assessment? An assessment is someone coming in and thinking or saying, you know what? I was on TikTok.
Oh my God.
And I saw this video about this girl having a hard time, fidgeting and having a hard time paying attention. And, I feel that too.
So, I can't pay attention. I can't focus at work.
Focus,
I have ADHD.
Or I'm really sensitive. Like, I do not like sweaters. Like, I will not wear a sweater.
So now
I may have autism where I'm really anxious around other people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like social situations. Like, I think I may have social anxiety or autism. That person's coming in, and as the person doing the assessment, I am collecting data because we're scientists. So I'm asking them questions. I'm giving them questionnaires to give to their loved ones, or a friend, someone who knows them. And I'm collecting pieces of data because that's what an assessment is for us. It's collecting data.
Yeah, it's nothing that's... When you say collecting data, I really want to zone in on this and really make it clear. So we go through school for a long time for a reason. I mean, it's nice to be all kumbaya and all that stuff, but like we really put in work and we're thoroughly trained. So when we administer a measure, so we're like, okay, so we always start most assessments with a cognitive measure. Cognitive meaning how does someone see the world, take in information, and then apply that information, and where are they at with that? Yeah. And so even say like a measure that we use, every item that we ask and deliver to measure is psychometrically sound, which means it's been tested. Like every single question has been tested to see is this a valid question to ask? Is it bringing the results that we need to be capturing? It's not a poll on Instagram that you're posting to say like, who's sad today? Right. You know, there's science behind it. And so an assessment takes a long time because it needs to be thorough. And especially now I love the example that you brought with TikTok thing is that everybody now has ADHD. You're not focusing because of like so many other reasons, because you have ADHD. It's ADHD, not ADD. Just FYI. Like
yeah.
I know that sounded snarky, but genuinely, I think there's so much information out there. But then there's so much information out there.
And yes. And that's where coming to a professional like me, like my other colleagues in the field is so helpful, because yes, you are having a hard time concentrating in classes. Is it ADHD or is it anxiety? And have you always had anxiety, but now it's just you have more stressors in life? Or is it trauma? We all have traumatic life experiences, things that have impacted us, and that can look like ADHD.
Dr. Howard, I mean, that's another buzzword, trauma.
Trauma, yes.
Simple words. What is trauma?
Trauma is something difficult that happened to you in life, whether that was, you moved a lot as a kid, up to I had to experience watching my parents divorce. Everyone has their own trauma that they go through. Everyone has their own intensity of trauma. How impactful was it? How hurtful or painful? Trauma is something you went through that was hurtful or painful for you. That's trauma. Yeah. And depending on the type of hurt that you went through, how hurtful it was for you, that can lead to you not being able to focus in class, or fidgeting, or having just a hard time sleeping.
Or your relationships. Because we as humans, I mean, that's how we were trained, is under the framework of family systems, which essentially means humans don't operate alone. We just can't. And we operate in almost like a web, if you think about it, of other humans. And that trauma impacts that web. Yep. So, yes. We talked a lot about, now that we're both like post-grad, about our journeys and how it got us here. Man, what do you think, looking back?
I think we had trauma. It's dramatic.
Why is that the truth? Why is that the truth?
But we made it.
Yeah. You also, we were talking a lot off camera about sacrifice. Talk more about that in your journey of, it doesn't even have to be your PhD journey, just like in your life and your profession, what you sacrificed to get here.
Yeah. I mean, when you are entering a program, you may not have a lot of control over where you land, over who accepts you. So it could be that you are in a program that is across the country from your family, from your community, from your support system. That's a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice of time that you're maybe spending with your loved ones. Maybe you're not close to. If you're married or you have a boyfriend, that's across the country that you're not able to see as consistently as you were. Family, you're not able to see. I had a research lab meeting on my birthday.
I remember that.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a sacrifice. Yes, we try to balance things. Mm-hmm. Maybe I could have said no, but it was a commitment I made and a commitment to myself to get through this process and be the best me that I could be. So yes, I went to a research lab meeting on my birthday. That
on your birthday.
And you know what? I still celebrated it though, and I still had a good day. And I know I'll never have to do that again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I choose not to.
Right.
And that's the sacrifice of it. Those certain sacrifices of I may not be where I want to be right now, or I may not be able to go to my, parents' birthday party or go home to celebrate Mother's or Father's Day. That's a sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sacrificing the time that your other friends and family in that time that you're getting your education, they already started building their lives. Mm-hmm. Right. In like a traditional sense, right? Like we're all building our lives, like we were too.
Yeah.
But we weren't buying homes then. We weren't saving up for homes.
Yeah. We weren't buying homes, saving up for homes, having kids during getting a program can be very stressful thing to do. Many choosing to delay starting families or take an extra year to start their family because they want that. And there's balance in that too that can be had with a little bit of sacrifice as well.
I'm really glad you brought sacrifice up because now the world is talking more about self-care and not, burning out, all these buzzwords.
Yeah.
I think it's important to also remember that everything is hard in life. And just because you're focusing more on your wellness doesn't mean that things are not going to be hard and you're going to have to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Everything is hard. Mm-hmm. I think if you did it, like talking about our lives, if we didn't pursue the PhD, it may have been harder in a different way. Mm-hmm. And you don't know that.
Yeah.
And we chose this, and so we, stuck it out, but, trauma and all. But it's fine.
We're here. We made it. We're okay.
We're here.
Everything's okay.
Community is so important.
Yeah.
I know we had a cohort of 7. Why are you laughing?
We went through trauma, yeah. Trauma bonding.
Yeah.
That's a buzzword too.
Why do you think we found each other? I mean, obviously we were in the same program, same cohort, but why do you think we stayed friends?
I think we are able to laugh when life gets life in.
Life be life.
Life be life in.
Yeah.
And we're able to joke about it though.
Yeah.
We're able to say, hey, today was the worst day. Do you want to get some wine?
Yeah. And I always talk about this till this day.
Yeah.
I think what we did in grad school that was really awesome.
Yeah.
We had a treat yourself day.
We did.
Every semester. Last project submitted.
Yeah.
Treat yourself.
Yeah.
Fine leather goods. No, we didn't buy leather goods. We didn't have.
We bought clothes though. We bought food.
We went to booze. Lots of booze.
Number one,
wine. We love wine.
Yeah.
But I think that's important because you have to pace yourself because not just getting a PhD or getting that promotion, wherever you are in your life is a long game. Mm-hmm. And the journey is your lifetime.
Yeah. With twists and turns. And you never know where life is. Twists and turns. Like, where are we going? I don't know.
I don't know where we're going here.
I don't know.
No, we don't.
And having that faith that, you know what? I'll be okay though.
I had to do I know if I'm going to be okay? But you're right, because you've made it this far and you've been okay, more or less.
Yeah.
Bruised, battered, but you're here.
You're here.
So if you made it this far, you continue making it.
Yeah.
And you have skills. You have skills that you use to cope. Let's talk about all the things that a psychology degree can get you. And
yes.
Psychologist is somebody who has a doctorate degree with a license. Mm-hmm. And that's important. I know that sounded snarky. Why does everything I say sound sarcastic or snarky?
It's just you.
I don't know.
Embrace you, be you.
But I think that's why I said, let's talk about what is therapy simply? What is assessment simply?
Yeah.
Because there's so many channels out there that talk about all these technical things, but we want this information to be accessible.
Yeah.
Accessible?
Accessible.
I have a PhD, I can't speak. So, so I think that's important too. And what was it? Bring me back on. What was I talking about?
The difference, right?
The difference. Oh, yes. So people are like, oh, I took 3 classes in undergrad and I majored in psychology.
Yeah.
No, a psychologist is actually a trained profession that went through hell. Yeah, we're here. But I think our program is, most programs also include, on top of a dissertation, which is a long research study with like multiple chapters, residency match. Because we follow the medical model, which is you apply to a bunch of sites, very competitive, you interview, they rank you, you rank them. It goes through this stupid system that matches. Anybody in medicine will agree. It's just such a stupid system. And then you go there and you work for a year. And that's why we have that extra year.
Yes.
But it gives us a lot of training. So what do you think, through all of the hardships, what do you think you can share with someone who's going through maybe not even a clinical program, but just any hardship professionally?
I would say it's going to be hard. Going through life and doing something that you want to do, it's going to be hard. There's going to be those challenges, and to try to find those things that give you joy. For us, it was those treat yourself days.
Laughing.
For you, it may be yoga. I love me some hot yoga.
I can't breathe, so that's not mine. I'm like, why I can't breathe?
Yes. Or it may be, every weekend or every other weekend, you go see a movie. You try out a new coffee shop. Yes, I have work to do this weekend. I have, homework to do, or an assignment or a dissertation. Have you talked about that yet? I don't know if we talked about that yet.
Dissertation.
Yes,
we did. I mentioned it.
You mentioned it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I like disassociate.
We can release that. We can release that.
Shredded. No, just kidding. No.
No, but it's shredded.
Whoa. You defended in April, I remember.
I did, yeah.
Why do I know that? It's so traumatic that you really do root for your friends in that, because man, it was tough.
It was tough.
I remember, sorry, we are all over the place. So I remember why I was going on my long-winded streak earlier. Different professions.
Yes.
Things you can do with a psychology degree at the doctorate level. Like, what do psychologists do?
At the doctorate level, so psychologists do therapy, assessments, instead of TikTok, assessments.
Yeah, no, get off TikTok.
Come on over
to a real human being.
Yes.
Not an AI bot.
Now, feel free to tell me what you saw on your TikTok.
Oh, yes.
I love listening to the stories.
Do you? I get mad.
So we can debunk,
You're right.
Debunk.
Go to
yes. You can teach at, a college, university, community college, and you can do research. And a lot of times research and teaching may be combined. Or if you're in a medical setting, you're doing teaching at a hospital as well as research and clinical work too. So those are the main things that we see with a doctorate, so a PhD or a PsyD in psychology.
You can also specialize per condition as well. So
Yep.
I know you were doing a rotation heavily in autism. Evaluations.
Yep.
I had a friend who only does assessments, and she works in the juvenile detention centers to do all those evals there.
Yeah.
Even within healthcare, if you zoom in, every specialty that you think of, like cardiology, pain under anesthesia, there's a psychologist, or there should be a psychologist embedded. And now instead of mental health, we're shifting to integrated behavioral health as well.
Yeah.
Community health, there's so much you can do, and with the degree. And so a lot of people think that, you just sit in a room with a clipboard and someone comes in and lays on the couch, but and you can.
You could.
I've been on some comfy couch. Therapists need therapists too. But there's so much that we do to contribute back to society.
Yeah.
Because a PhD, I think, it's a privilege. Education is a privilege. And I think we're all tasked to pay it back. I think.
I agree. Yeah, it's an honor.
Yeah. And you don't realize until you leave the 1% bubble that, you have a really niche way of seeing the world and niche information, and that you have the power to really, we call it translational science, is putting it in a way that it's helpful to all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
To all. And again, even more so how we were raised. We're understanding those human webs. Those human webs, right?
Yeah.
So we've seen each other through so many different stages. Mm-hmm. How would you say, what were all the stages you think that I went through? And I'll give you mine of yours.
Stages you went through?
Yeah. From year 1 till now. As the golden sheep.
I think I saw you go through stages where I think you had to remember your power.
Ooh.
I saw, people doubt you, doubt your abilities, doubt where you could go, doubt what practicum sites you could secure. Yep. Right? And I saw you say, forget them. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to go my own path to get where I know I can be.
Always been a golden sheep.
Always been a golden sheep.
Rambunctious.
Disciplined, right?
Aww.
Yeah. Go get her.
Thanks.
And I saw you I saw you evolve into that person that knew, even if this person who has guided several people through this process before tells me I shouldn't do this, I'm going to do it my way. And I'm going to succeed doing it.
One of the advice that I got from a colleague in grad school, I'm sure this person meant well, but they said, keep your head down, say yes, ma'am, and just graduate. Mm-hmm. And to be really honest, that was the worst advice I'd ever gotten.
Yeah.
Because had I followed that, I wouldn't have been the golden sheep.
Right.
A golden sheep. We're all golden sheeps. But truly, I think it wasn't easy. Of course, I didn't pick an easy route, but how are you going to be in this position of power? You will be when you have a PhD. The title doctor has weight.
Yeah.
And if you have that mentality of just that, you're creating a really poor habit of not advocating for yourself and the people that you are serving, which are your clients and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Howard, it's time.
Okay.
For question from the people.
Woo!
All righty. So, Kendall from Austin, Texas wants to know why a PhD and not a master's, because you can be a therapist at the master's level too.
That's right. You can be a therapist at the master's, and master's level clinicians, they get so much training, right? Mm-hmm. That's their specialty area is therapy. Mm-hmm. And for me, I knew I wanted to have that more flexibility of being able to teach in different places.
Yeah.
I wanted that deeper knowledge of psychology, that having that 4 to 5 years, 5 years or in more, because right now I am still under supervision. I'm a provisionally licensed psychologist, meaning I'm a psychologist, and I still have clinical supervisors that read over. Clinical supervisors, kind of like bosses. So they look over my work, and I check in with them like, hey, I'm not messing this client up, right? I'm still okay, right?
We're you're seeing the red flags, right?
Yeah, right?
That's from another thing.
We're here, right? Yes. So I still check in with them.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be able to do psychological assessments too, right?
Yeah.
So I can have people coming in saying, I saw this on TikTok, and I can do a psychological assessment for that.
Yeah.
And give them that diagnosis. And if I decide, I can go back and do research as well. And so I wanted just to have a lot of doors opened for myself that maybe a little bit more limited with a master's, which is fine.
Right.
It's just different jobs, different specialties.
Anyone who always asks me that question or any question about their career when they're considering education or further education, I always ask, where do you want to land? What do you want to do? Yeah. And even more so, what lifestyle do you want to live? For instance, if you want to be a writer, okay, great. That's great.
Yeah.
Are you okay with being in front of the computer by yourself all the time?
Right.
It's about the lifestyle. And my friend Layla, who owns a restaurant in Austin, El Rival, she said, passion is so overrated. You have to consider what lifestyle you want, where are your capabilities, and you don't have to be talented or the best, quote unquote, yet.
Right.
But passion needs to be paired with something else, right? And so you're passionate. Where do you want to land, and what's your lifestyle that you're aiming for?
Right. And growing up, having conversations with my dad, who also has a doctorate. So, that was helpful for me to see that. as a Black man, having a doctorate, and me as a Black woman having a doctorate, it means something. And
what does it mean?
It means that I overcame a system that wasn't built for me to succeed. I overcame a system that was built for me to sink, to not thrive, to not float up to the top and rise up.
We're in 2024, and the fact that that's a relevant topic, I don't have a word.
Yeah. It's still here. It's still here.
No, I know. It's just, one of the things that Dr. Howard told me when we were early on in friendship, it was saying, I picked the program that I picked because the clinical training director at the time was a woman of color. And I saw myself in aspects of who she was as a leader, as a professional, whatever. And I, as a minority woman myself, was like, that's interesting. That's not something that I ever thought about. So I'm always learning from you.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting and actually really special that you were able to have that almost social duty in being a qualified representation amongst your people and within your profession as well. Because there's not many Asian psychologists out there either. That's another episode. Okay. Julio from Colombia wants to know, what's the first step of getting out of a relationship that you don't want to be in anymore? And I want you to answer this question as a psychologist.
Okay.
And as just a human being.
As just a human? Like two different or just the same answer?
Or if it's the same, if it merges, great.
Okay.
But
okay. I'll start off with psychologist. We'll see how it merges.
Yep.
Let's see. So I would first say kudos, Julio, kudos to you for first recognizing that you don't want to be in the relationship anymore. Because that could be the hardest step, is me realizing, actually this person might not be good for me, or maybe this is not a relationship that I like anymore, that I want to be in anymore. That's the first step. That can be a hard step because loneliness, because society tells us, we need someone.
We need another episode for that topic.
Yeah, we do.
It's like a whole thing. But yes.
So I think that's the first step. And then the next step is to think about, how can I leave?
Tell us what there's so. Oh my God, what do you mean?
How can I leave? Thinking about, how can I leave this relationship knowing that I don't know how to answer this question. I'm thinking like, how to get out. What was the question again?
How do I get out of a relationship that I know I do not want to be part of anymore?
Yeah. So thinking about, what is stopping me from leaving? What is stopping me?
So this whole thing here was important because psychologists, therapists, mental health providers, coaches, we don't tell you what to do. Sometimes we are just as confused as you.
And I think that's why I'm struggling to answer this question.
Yes.
Because I'm like, I don't know.
And sometimes acknowledging that, man, this is a complex situation.
Yeah.
We're so fast paced nowadays,
Uh-huh.
right? Like the world we live in, that we just want to fix and resolve. And sometimes it's good to sit with it and be like, man,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is complex. And just kind of sitting with it. That's the issue that we miss, I think, is that we don't sit with what's making us uncomfortable and why we haven't left before.
Yeah.
Or what's keeping us here. And that's usually, the answers are always in stillness. I need a merch line. I have so many good one-liners.
The answer is in stillness.
The answer is in the stillness.
Yeah.
It is.
It can be hard to sit in stillness.
Oh, man. I don't like to be still. I like chaos.
Well, I remember you struggling with that, right? And I remember during training, and our supervisor saying, like, Megan, you don't have to fill up this space.
It's therapeutic silence.
Yes.
I'm like, you can hear my finger tapping on the table.
Yeah. But knowing, as a psychologist, as a therapist, I don't have the answers. And that's also not my job.
Yep.
So Julio.
Julio?
Julio.
Oh, Julio.
I don't know.
But honestly, Julio, it's a brave question to ask because many people don't allow themselves the space to ask that question and even discover a solution for it. For me, if he was, of course, coming to me as from a coaching standpoint, I would definitely say, again, where do you want to go with your life? Right? And if that person is not someone that you want in that passenger seat, any second that you are with them is a second away from the person that is supposed to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
And guys, not everything needs to be forever.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
Like I personally used to be somebody who, if I am really good friends with you and we've been through some things and we've been friends for several years, I'm like, ride or die forever. And when it didn't happen that way, it broke me so much. Yeah. And now I'm just like, you know what? Even if you're not forever, I'm going to really enjoy this moment right now on this couch in front of these mics. You know what I mean? With you. And, you know, I'm saying that. I'm looking at you and I'm like, man, I really hope she doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. Because we've been through so much. I can't imagine not having you in my life. But say worst comes to it, you're not. There was that person that prayed with me, that cried with me, that laughed with me, that said Megan with me through a really interesting time. Yeah. Of my life. Yeah. And so when you're looking at it in a romantic relationship, Julio, that if she's not forever or he's not forever, there's beauty in just them being that season. How would you answer it personally, not a psychologist?
Personally, I would say if you're not happy, if you don't like them, why are you still there? What's holding you back?
I don't want to be lonely.
You don't want to be lonely?
I don't want to be lonely. I'm not speaking for you, Julio, but like a common answer would be like the loneliness. Whether people admit it or not, it's comfortable, it's safe.
Yeah. Why am I afraid to be lonely?
Ooh.
What story have I made or created in my mind about loneliness?
Ooh. That.
If you are lonely, then what?
Then what?
Then what happens? If I leave this relationship, then what happens? If I leave this person, then what happens?
Yeah. Oftentimes, I mean, you talk about rejection or loneliness and attachment. Overall, we're afraid of how we will react and how we can or cannot handle something more than losing the actual person.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with them. And so that's why the stillness it's not comfortable, but it'll turn the reflection inward. Yeah. And it's informative.
Yeah. And there's ways we can be still. I think people may hear that like, oh, be still. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, sitting down, thinking about how am I feeling right now? It can be meditating, buzzword, mindfulness, but YouTube, Googling mindfulness meditation, breathing, sitting, having a second to breathe, going out on a walk and just, I don't know, this is something that I do sometimes. I need to process things and I grab my phone and I have my voice recorder and I'm just saying things out loud, just talking through. What am I actually feeling right now? What am I thinking right now?
You did? I never knew you did that.
Yeah, I started doing it.
Okay, you gotta guide me through that later. Yeah,
I get you. I got you.
Okay, so you just like voice record yourself.
You voice record yourself. Yeah, I tried just talking out loud to myself. I felt kind of silly, and so I voice record myself, and I have my headphones in, and you know I'm just talking to myself. What is coming up for me? I'm just going through, rambling, and I feel better because I got it all out, and maybe I have some clarity afterwards. Or maybe for you, it's not talking out loud, it's writing. It's writing down. I'm so scared to leave this person. I'm so scared because that means I'll have nobody. I'm scared I don't deserve to have anyone, or I'm not worthy of having anyone.
I'm scared that even though I know this is not it, I'm getting rid of the only option that I know of, that I have in hand.
Or that I think I'm worthy of having.
Yeah, because sometimes it's my friend told me this a while back, awesome is scary. It is. It is, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't pursue it, right? Yeah. But definitely it's interesting, and I like what you said there about like the whole word vomit in the audio text or writing it down, because it removes the pressure of having to burden someone else if you're not ready to talk about it with people, because that's a barrier. Is people are like, I don't want to talk to like so and so because I don't want to. So then you don't. then just process it by yourself. Initially, of course, we want you to reach out and talk to like either a healthcare professional or friend or loved one communities, you know, your group, your vibe is your tribe. But of course, like I love that. That's a great starting point.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to listen to it back if you don't want to.
Oh, I do not recommend
that.
Really? Throw it all out there. Save it on your phone if you want. Proceed with caution if you want to listen back to it.
What's your golden sheep advice for all of us?
My golden sheep advice is to be you. Be your most authentic self. The you that you think others will reject. And knowing that requires bravery, though. But when you shed the bravery, shed the fear, that allows people who will love the real you to come in.
How do you begin to build courage?
You build the courage by loving yourself first. I feel like that. Everybody says that. Love yourself. What does that mean? Putting yourself first. I know I want to be healthy. Love yourself. Buy those foods that you know are going to be good for your body, for your brain, going to sleep, doing movement, doing those things that you know you love. And that's how you can show yourself that you love yourself. And maybe it means releasing that relationship, releasing those friendships that may be toxic, so that you are allowing that space to open, like we talked about, for those real people to enter your life who love the real you.
You are what you attract. And what a lot of my clients start when we begin our coaching journey together, they say is, I don't know who I am. And they don't even admit that to themselves. And so part of my coaching, the first phase is identity work. Who were you? Who do you want to be? And who are you now? Because oftentimes we start with the now and people don't know who they are, even if they say, oh, I am so-and-so, you know? So I think like really understanding who you are, because you can't love something if you don't know who that is. Yeah.
And loving the version of yourself that you are right now before you get to the place that you want to be.
Because you may not get there.
Exactly.
Not because you'll fail, but because sometimes your why changes, and that's okay. And your destination may change because you don't want to go there anymore. I never imagined I would be a coach, owning my own business, and that the forefront of what I do now is understanding sales. Is it integrated to everything that I've learned? Yeah, I'm sure you can make some like flowery like answer. But what the hell? What? You know what I mean? So you never know with life. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. And where do people find you?
People can find me at the Wellness Psychologist _ on Instagram.
All the wellness girlies and boysies.
Come and everyone else. We love wellness over here, and taking care of yourself and loving yourself and knowing that it's a journey. And so I'm on that journey with you. Not just because I'm a psychologist and have a PhD doesn't mean I'm perfect and I'm there. So come join me on that journey.
Follow her, guys. Find her. And that's a wrap, Golden Sheeps.